In Gadgets 41, I gave you the heads up that there would be an AC coupler build. Here it is. Before we get into the details of the build, let's put it to work. It's a very simple setup. I'm using the Handtech 1008. I have the coupler on channel 1. Just a BNC cable with two alligator clips on the end of it. It's going to go on the positive and negative terminals of the battery. We'll crank the engine over wide open throttle, and we'll take a look at a relative compression. One of the things that I find disorientating about using the AC coupling method to do a relative compression test is that the waveform is inverted compared to what it is that we're used to seeing when we use an amp clamp. To change that, there is a probe that you can download on the probe database for H-scope. It's an inverter. It's abbreviated as INV. So if we choose that probe and we do our relative compression test using the AC coupling method, the resulting wave should be more familiar to us with the peaks pointing up. So we're in the auto module of H-scope. We're using the HT1008, which has a maximum sample rate of 2 kilosample per second in this mode, which is enough for a test like this one. Record. Let's go crank it. Alright, let's find our waveform. It's out here. So there. If I zoom in a little bit, so the compression peaks here all look pretty much even. There we go. Healthy engine. And the AC coupling method of doing a relative compression test is quite a viable option. No amp clamp required. Let's move on to the next test, which is the alternator ripple test. That's best done by probing right at the alternator. The problem going with close to the battery is that the battery acts as a sponge. So alligator clip on the positive output side of the alternator here, and the negative alligator clip is on the alternator body itself. The scope is set at 38 kilosamples per second. We're getting a very nice ripple waveform here. That's what a small diode leak looks like. It's quite acceptable. It's well under 200 millivolts, maybe 150 or so. Anything over 500 is definitely a problem. Usually you want to see something under 250 millivolts. I'll remind you that this is a 17-year-old alternator. It's the original, and it's pumping into a 17-year-old battery. It's the original too. I think that's pretty good. And I think that the AC coupler is performing as expected. Let's go have a look at what the build is. We're using the same construction method as in Gadgets 28, the 4x attenuator. Prior to soldering the 14 gauge solid copper wire to the RCA BNC connector, I did remove the plastic insert so it wouldn't get damaged by heat, just as I did in Gadgets 28. But unlike Gadgets 28, we're not able to solder the components. In that case, it was resistors. In this case, it's going to be a capacitor, because the capacitor is too fat to make it through the hole afterwards. So there was another short piece of solid copper wire, same 14 gauge, that was soldered in prior to reinserting this plastic insert. It's an extension so that now we'll be able to solder a capacitor center pin to center pin. We're going to be soldering this 104 ceramic capacitor. It has a 0.1 microfarad capacitance. I explored whether a different value capacitor would provide better results. I can't improve on the 104. If I go with a less capacitance, the waveform suffers. If I go with more capacitance, the DC is not removed quickly, and if even more capacitance is used, is not removed entirely. So I cannot improve on the selection of this 104. This is what's going to get soldered here, center pin to center pin. With the capacitor now soldered, the next step is to make a small cardboard mold for the epoxy. Any light cardboard will do. I like using this 4x6 photo paper, just about the right weight to shape it. In Gadgets 28, I was recommending the use of the Gorilla brand 5-minute epoxy. Previous attempts at finding cheaper alternatives resulted in epoxies that were a little bit too thick to flow properly inside the mold, until I found this stuff at a dollar store, and I'm becoming a real big fan of the dollar store. And this was only $1.50, and this stuff will flow in there pretty good. Also, the 4x attenuator in Gadgets 28, the final covering was a piece of heat shrink. That too is pricey on this product, and to be able to differentiate it from the attenuator, I'm using this white duct tape. It's also from the dollar store. It comes in various colors, and this stuff is really sticky and will do a good job of covering it up. This inline AC coupler should fit any brand of oscilloscope. If you own a Handtech 1008, you might want to hold off for the next video. There will be a second option where there will be a modification to channels 7 and 8, and you will achieve hardware-based AC coupling without the need to add on an inline device such as this one. Guys, take care.